Hi, my name is Kim Cofino, and I am currently teaching at Yokohama International School in Japan. This is my 14th year overseas. I started out at Munich International School in Munich, Germany, spent 5 years there, and then moved to Mont Kiara International School in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, spent 2 years there. Then moved to International School Bangkok in Thailand and was there for 3 years. And I'm just beginning my fourth year here in Yokohama, Japan. I've been really fortunate to be able to live in really fantastic places and work at really great schools and travel and see lots of different places while I'm living during the course of the academic year. And I guess that's really what I'd like to talk to you about today. The idea of exposing students to new ways of thinking, new ways of communicating, and build their potential for collaboration and creativity and feeling connected with the wider world. I think as an international school teacher, I've been really fortunate to kind of have that experience firsthand and see how it's changed me as an adult. And feeling that way now as an adult makes me wish that I had those opportunities when I was younger. Some of the real benefits that I feel like I've had from living overseas are kind of the way that you can seamlessly merge between different cultures and different communities and different contexts and not feel unsettled about it, but feel excited by it. I think some of the other really important skills are being able to talk to people who come from different backgrounds and being able to make yourself understood without making anyone feel uncomfortable and understanding that everybody has a different approach to the way they handle things. And certainly living in different countries has made me much more patient. I also think there's a really strong feeling of interest in other cultures and other countries and other people that maybe I might not have had as much coming from my home country, which is the United States. And had I not left the United States, it might have been a little harder for me to see the value of different people, different places, different ways of handling things. And now I really cherish my experiences, good and bad, in different countries because they've helped me see different ways to handle lots of different situations. So I guess kind of those three big ideas that being able to move around and feeling comfortable wherever you go, being able to communicate with people, and being able to appreciate their differences are three of the main reasons why I feel really lucky to have had the experience that I have and am continuing to have. Um, because of that, I guess I thought it would be worthwhile to share some of the techniques or processes that I go through when I'm designing global projects and to share some examples of projects with you. So I'm starting off, I've got this blog post that I wrote in 2007 on my screen here, a step-by-step guide to global collaborations. And this is my basically step-by-step guide to getting started anytime you want to have a global project with your students. And basically it kind of takes the understanding by design process and puts the global element into it. So beginning with the end in mind and then moving forward and getting that global collaboration working. And I guess I'll just talk through that a little bit just so you have a good picture of kind of where I'm coming from. So for me, beginning with the end in mind means defining your learning goals. You know, where do you want students to go? What do you want them to be able to do and to know and to understand at the end of the unit? At that point, you would identify your standards and know your purpose for teaching this unit. And then you would develop those enduring understandings. And for anybody who's used to understanding by design, that makes complete sense. Start with the end, find out where you want to go, and set your unit up from there. Once you've got those enduring understandings, you'd want to think about what kind of authentic assessment you want your students and the collaborating classrooms to do. And I'll show some examples of authentic assessments in just a minute so you can get an idea of the kinds of projects that I've done that I've really enjoyed. And then it's time to construct those understandings to design activities or opportunities for students to develop their own understanding of those big ideas that you've previously identified. I think a really important element in this whole process is to have really explicit expectations between you and the collaborating teachers. Sometimes you think somebody else is doing something and they think you're doing it, and then kind of you get in trouble, right? So the idea that I'm doing the rubric, you're doing the task sheet. Just be really clear about what you want. It really helps when you break down those tasks and you're explicit about who's doing what, so that everybody knows how their different pieces of the recipe, so to speak, are going to come together and create a final project. Another really important aspect of this, when you're planning your own unit, you know everything that you have in your classroom, you know what you can do and what you can't do, but when you're collaborating with somebody else, you really need to have a good picture of what they have available. For example, at YIS, we're a one-to-one school. Every child in our school from grade 6 to 12 has their own laptop computer. We have obviously wireless internet access for everybody, and we have completely unfiltered internet aside from really severe things we don't want kids to see. So I have pretty much, I'm very fortunate, I have pretty much anything I could want, but my collaborating classrooms might not have that same situation. A classroom in China could have heavily filtered internet. A classroom in another developing country might not have access to the same technology that I have access to. A classroom in the United States might use a computer lab as opposed to having a one-to-one program. So understanding all those different elements really helps you kind of plan what you can actually do and what you can expect other teachers to do. I usually like to make a home base for the project. Often I'll use a wiki or a blog as a central space for where all the student work is going to go. This one place where we can find everything that we need for the project, the assignment sheets, the rubrics, the student work, the resources that we've put together, just that kind of central space where everything lives online. And just because you have that one central space, which may be a wiki, it may be a website, it may be a Google site, it may be a blog, whatever it is, doesn't mean you can't use lots of other tools. So lots of my projects have had videos or voice threads embedded into wiki spaces and links out to other things. That's great, as long as they're kind of all from that one central space so everybody knows where to go. Another really important aspect of these global collaborative projects is that different schools have different expectations for privacy and level of kind of protection with the different tools that you use. So thinking about whether you want something to be totally public, whether you want it to be private, or whether you want it to just be protected. That means visible to the public, but only the class members can edit. So thinking about those protection levels in collaboration with the other classroom teacher is a really important aspect of the planning stage. And once you've got all that sorted out, then you can set the stages and the deadlines. And I'm a really huge fan of the MYP design cycle, which basically just means that you investigate first, then you plan, then you create, and then you evaluate. And so at this point in time, I would kind of break a project down into those stages so that students have time to do a little research, to do a little thinking, to kind of imagine what they want and be inspired by other examples, and then have time to plan what do they want for their own project, and then create. So this is the time when I would kind of set those stages and deadlines and make them really transparent for the teachers and for the students. When you're doing that, you also can take that opportunity to clarify assignment expectations. Make sure it's visible in lots of different ways, whether it's writing and video and audio files, or an example project, or just thinking about the fact that there might be lots of different people with lots of different background information and cultural context and different experience working with technology, so that they know what is really expected of them. And I think it's important to design your learning space so that it's easy to access, easy to navigate, easy to find information, and so that students know where to put their own work, so that the design is functional for you and for the students. So I guess those would be kind of my big highlights of how I would go through the process of designing a collaborative project with another teacher. And then some general kind of tips, I guess I would say, is to start small. Don't do a project that has every single possible tool you've recently learned about, because it's really easy to get overwhelmed, not just for you or for your kids, but for all the collaborating teachers involved. So start with something you know how to do or something you feel is achievable, and have some success with that, because that will breed further success. Another idea is to go window shopping, to look at other people's projects and to get ideas from them. That's why I'm going to share some of mine with you today, but there are plenty of others that you can kind of get started experimenting with. Think about all the barriers that could be in the way. the technological access or the filtered internet or whatever might be blocking you, and try to remove those barriers so that everybody who's participating in the project has the same access. I know here in Asia, Google Docs can be a real challenge because it's really difficult to access in China. So I wouldn't advocate starting a project with the school in China using Google Docs or any Google applications, because it would be really challenging. So try to think about the expectations from different perspectives and see if you can remove those barriers. And definitely keep the lines of communication open. If something happens and you get sick and you know the sub is not going to be able to pick up your work, let the other cooperating teacher know. I know I had an experience where I was doing a project and it was the focus of my entire class, and I only found out a few weeks into it that the collaborating teacher was giving it as extra credit or homework to her students. And it's a silly question. I don't know why I didn't ask it, but when my kids weren't getting work back, I realized, oh, that's why. I wish I had known, and had to kind of reshape the project. So keeping those lines of communication open is really important. I think lots of teachers would advocate starting with one tool at a time. So if you want to explore with, let's say, VoiceThread, just stick to VoiceThread, and maybe you have your home base and VoiceThread rather than trying everything all at once. And as a technology coach, I would always advocate for making sure that whatever work you're doing is a good fit with your curriculum, that you're not forcing a technology tool where it doesn't fit, but that you're choosing a tool that will enhance and improve the effectiveness of your instruction. Don't choose tools because they sound good. Choose tools because they do what you need them to do based on the academic needs of the course. And something I would always say, no matter what you're doing, global collaboration or just starting a new project in your class, using technology successfully in the classroom is a mindset, not a skill set. Doesn't matter what you don't know, you can learn it with the kids, you can experiment, you can have fun. As long as you're a risk taker, you can do pretty much anything. So I guess those are my top bits of advice that I can give you about global projects, and I'm sure you want to know about some of my global projects that I've done in the past, and I'll just let you know that they're all available from my website, kimcofino.com, and they're organized by school. So if you pick a school, like for example ISB in Thailand, you'll see that when I click on that page, you'll see my resume there, and below you'll see a bunch of projects. So just some examples for you. At ISB, we had student blogs for all grades 5 to 12. We have the same thing at YIS, the same thing with teacher blogs. They all have their own blog. We did a great collaborative project in grade 5 where students used blogs and podcasts to deepen their readers and writers workshop units of studies. So basically, this blog post kind of describes the whole thing. You can read more about it there. But grade 5 students created podcasts about a teaching point from their readers workshop. And those podcasts were created not just by our grade 5 students, but by grade 5 students in several different countries around the world. And we collaborated on the podcast channel so that the students could listen to all the different podcasts in their one channel. And not only could our students listen to the students from other countries, but the younger students in our school could listen to the older students' work. So that was a great way of getting students to kind of connect with the material and share with a wider audience. Another great project from Chris Kraft is called the Life Round Here project, and this is an example of using video within a wiki. So the idea is for students to create a video describing life in their kind of neck of the woods, and then post the video onto this collaborative wiki page, which is not loading right now, but you can look at it when you go from my blog. We did the sounding board for the flat classroom every year that I was at ISB. In grade 5, we did a great little wiki project where students talked about what it's like to go from grade 5 to grade 6, and we had different classrooms from schools all around the world, and they all put up a voice thread sharing what they were excited about, what they were worried about, and then we collaborated on a central wiki for that. What else can I tell you? Well, there's lots of examples here. 1001 Flat World Tales is another example where we had a collaborative writing project using a wiki, and basically what happens is students will be, let's say, 4 classrooms around the world, and each student in each class will get a writing partner from each of those 4 classes. So let's say one student from my class in Bangkok would be partnered with 2 or 3 other students from different countries around the world, and they're editors of each other's work. And they would be doing the peer review and going through the editorial process. And all of the stories would be hosted here on this wiki. This happens to be an example from 2009, but the project is still going. People are still participating. There's lots more here. We did a similar kind of project with kindergarten. So basically, you can do a project like this with any grade level and see success. It just depends on how much you expect of the students. So if you keep it easy and manageable and you feel some success the first time around, you'll get braver and braver and try newer things as you continue to explore. I think that's really the highlights of why I want to do projects like this and kind of how I try to make them successful. I'm really fortunate at YIS to be working at kind of a higher level. We're still working with teachers, but also thinking about the whole school and how we as a school really collaborate with others. And so our e-portfolios, which are blogs, connecting with others, and thinking about the school being open intentionally to build that kind of collaborative environment in our connected learning community, our one-to-one program, has been really exciting. So I feel like I've been able to take the kind of individual projects that I've done at ISB and kind of elevate that here at YIS to a more whole school environment. So that's really exciting too. I hope that's given you kind of an introduction to global collaborations from my perspective as an international school teacher. And please feel free to contact me. You can look me up online, and I'd be happy to talk to you about any of these kinds of projects or these ideas.